kids, welcome to another edition of Metal Math. Let me put the guitar down and I'll be right with you. Okay, well, I just watched on TV and the governor has officially closed schools for the remainder of this school year. So we're going to be doing our remote learning the rest of the way. You've been doing a great job. I know we can do it. We're going to get through this just fine. And sign in every day, check out these videos, and hopefully this will help you. Remember, just get in touch with me anytime you need me. Send me a message on Teams or to my email at school, and one way or another I will get back to you. Okay, so today we are going to look at relating tenths and decimals. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our fractions that we've been working with, starting with tenths, and we're going to use decimals. Okay, so let's look at our unlock the problem here on page 495 in your math books. Okay, so if you want to go online, go to Think Central, check out the book, page 495. Okay, the essential question is, how can you record tenths as fractions and decimals? And here's the problem. It says, Ty is reading a book about metamorphic rocks. He has read 7/10 of the book. What decimal describes the part of the book that Ty has read? Okay, a decimal is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. You can write tenths and hundredths as fractions or decimals. Okay, important note, fractions and decimals basically relate to the same thing. Okay, parts of a whole. Okay, and the decimal point, when you see a number written as a decimal, such as 1.0, anything to the left of the decimal is a whole number. So the 1 would be the whole number. Then the decimal, that separates the whole numbers from the partial numbers or fractions or decimals in this point. Okay? So basically if you had 1.2, we really don't say 1.2. We would say 1 and. The decimal, you could say it as and then the 2, you have to remember back the place value, is in the tenths category. So it would be 1 and 2/10. That's how you would say decimals. I just wanted to get that clear before we start. Okay, now, if you look on the page, you're going to see one way to do it, and they're going to show you by drawing a model and also by the place value chart. Now, I've done this for you. It's behind me. I'm going to show it to you when I'm done explaining it. Okay, first, they want you to take your model, which is already there for you, and it's broken up into 7 pieces. And as we know, Ty has read 7/10. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your model, and you are going to shade 7 of those 10 sections. That will represent 7/10. And then as a fraction, you write that just as a fraction, 7/10. And you would say it 7/10. Now, to the right of that, we have the decimal. And we're going to use our place value chart. And if you notice, it says that 7/10 as a fraction equals the words 7/10. So, we have our place value chart, and we have the column for the ones, then the decimal point, then a column for tenths. Notice, ending in THS, not tens, tenths. Okay? And next to that would be hundredths. Okay? When you write that, there are no ones because it's 7/10. It's a fraction. So you're going to fill the ones category in with a 0. Then your decimal point. And then since we know it's 7/10, we're going to place the 7 in the tenths column. And there are no hundredths. Okay, so it's 7/10. So we leave the hundredths category blank. And how would you write that? You would write that as 0.7, and you would read it the same way as you read the fraction, 7/10. Okay? Now, below that is another way, the number line. But before we get to that, I'm going to show you a close-up of the board so you can see what the models look like filled out. Sorry, kids, give me 1 second here. Okay, and there is our board. If you notice, we have our fraction model in which 7/10 have been shaded. And next to that, we have our place value chart where there's a 0 in the ones column, then your decimal point, and then a 7 in the tenths place. Okay? Now, when filling that out, underneath, in your books, you'll see it says write it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that right now. We're going to write these fractions. So over here we have 7 filled in out of 10. So we would write that as 7/10 or 7/10. And then when it comes to our decimal plate, we will write it as 0.7. And both of these are pronounced as 7/10. Okay? Now we're going to move on to a number line. Now another way you can do this is by a number line. You all are familiar with number lines, but this one is going to be broken up into fractions and decimals. Okay? So we're going to start at 0, and we're going to work up to 1, because he's dealing with 7/10, remember? So we don't need to go any higher than 1 whole, because 7/10 is less than 1 whole. Now let me show you what the number line looks like. Okay, there's our number line. And if you notice, it starts at 0/0, which is written as 0.0. Okay? Then, as you notice, it goes 1/10 or 1.0, 2/10 or 2.0, 3/10. What would go next? Since we have a blank, that would be 3.0. 4/10, if you fill in your blank, 4.0, and so on. And if you notice the fractions on top, after 6/10, there's a blank, and then it goes to 8/10. So what's going to come in between 6 and 8? 7/10. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment here to fill out this chart, and I'll come back and show it to you what it looks like completed. Okay. So 3/10 written as a decimal would be 0.3. 4/10 written as a decimal would be 0.4. 5/10, 0.5, and so on. 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, and eventually 9/10. And our fraction that was left blank, we will fill in as 7/10, which means 7 is our numerator, 10 is our denominator, and our number line will be complete. And underneath the number line, we're going to write 0.7 equals 7/10 or 7/10. And that shows you how fractions and decimals represent the same thing. And there's our completed number line. And remember, kids, you could always pause this and copy it into your books. Use it as a reference. And as we pull back, that's what our whole page would look like. Page 495, I believe we said. When you fill it out, that's what it would look like. And that's our first day of decimals and fractions. We're going to move on to hundredths and then eventually money. Money makes decimals a little bit easier to understand, and that's a couple of lessons ahead. So I hope you're all having a great day. Like I said, I was hoping that we would get back this year to be able to see each other in the classroom. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but this is the next best thing, okay? So please keep in touch. Any questions, concerns, please reach out to me, and I hope you're all doing well and stay healthy. See you soon.